This is Clint Eastwood's unbelievable true story. He shouldn't even be alive today. Yet, he's 93 years old. God bless you, Mr. Eastwood. On June 25th, 1950, the Korean War would break out. 2 days after that, the United States would join the war. It would aid and support South Korea. The United States enacted a military draft. A military draft is when you're chosen by force to go fight for your country. And during the Korean War, Americans were chosen through a lottery, and if their name was called, they would have to stop what they're doing and go to war. An 18-year-old high school dropout named Clint Eastwood. Hold up. Clint, it was very wrong of you to drop out of high school, but I'm gonna let that slide for 2 reasons. 1, I love you, sir. And 2, it was a long time ago. But kids, always finish your school. It's the most important thing in life. Then you could do whatever you want. I went all the way. I graduated from Rutgers University, and I have an MBA in management. And now I decided to be a YouTuber. But anyway, Clint Eastwood was living with his family in Seattle, Washington, when his name would be called for the military draft. And before long, he would go to North California and start his military training. Lock and loaded! Time out. Like and subscribe. God bless you. Do me right. I wouldn't do you guys wrong, and you know it. Let's go back. Time back in. After his military training, Clint Eastwood didn't go to the Korean War. The United States made him stay in America in North California and be a lifeguard at their swimming pool. He was okay with that. He did whatever they wanted. And at nights and on the weekends, he had a part-time job as a bouncer at a bar. You guys know Clint Eastwood very well. He loves to fight. He's a Dirty Harry type of guy, if you guys know what I mean. After a year working as a lifeguard, Clint Eastwood missed his family and girlfriend, so he would take some days off and go see his family and girlfriend. And as a military member, whenever you're in uniform, you could go on any military flight for free. So that's what he did. And he would go home. Hey mom, hey dad, hey girlfriend, you guys missed me? How is life without the Clint? But all good things must come to an end. So on September 30th, 1951, Clint Eastwood would say goodbye to his family and girlfriend and put on his military uniform and go to the military airport in Seattle, Washington to go back to the military in North California. But once he got to the airport, there was only one plane going to North California. This plane was a World War II era dive bomber, and it only had room for one person, the pilot. Clint Eastwood would go to the pilot, his name was Anderson, and tell him, "Sir, I really need to go to North California tonight. I have military work tomorrow, and you're in the military. You know the military doesn't play around, and I have no money at all to take a civilian plane to North California." The pilot would tell Clint Eastwood, "But this is only a one-person plane. There's no way you could fit." Clint Eastwood told him, "Sir, let me climb up and back in your radar compartment." The pilot told him, No, that's too dangerous." Clint Eastwood gave him a baby face. He said, "Come on, man, do me a solid." The pilot eventually gave in and told him, "Okay, get in back in the radar compartment and hang on tight. It's gonna be a bumpy ride." Clint Eastwood would cram up back there and the plane would take off. As soon as the plane took off, the back door would open wide where Clint Eastwood was at, And Anderson, the pilot, would have no knowledge that the back door was open because Anderson had a wall behind him, not seeing what's back there. But the problem is, at their cruising altitude, there would not be enough oxygen to sustain life for Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood knew this, so he anchored his legs and actually went outside the plane halfway and grabbed that door and pulled on it, trying to close it, but the wind was so strong he just couldn't. So he gave up and went in back of the plane and just started praying. Dear God, don't do me wrong. And he was fading out because he had no oxygen, and just keep on. And I don't know. I think that I can't even talk straight because of the oxygen. I'm fading. Hello? But God would answer Clint Eastwood's prayers, and a weird miracle would take place. Can you guys believe Anderson never checked if he had enough fuel before he took off? And when he looked at the gauges, he realized he didn't have enough fuel for the trip or to go back. So he would grab the radio and say, "Mayday, mayday, is anybody out there?" And it was silent. No one was replying. And plus, for some weird reason, Anderson too was losing oxygen. So he had no choice but to lower the plane and land it in the ocean, while Clint Eastwood was running out of oxygen and dying back there. So as Anderson lowered the plane, Clint Eastwood started to wake up because he was receiving oxygen. As Clint Eastwood was waking up, he would look outside that door and he realized that the plane was crashing in the ocean, and he would say, "Oh my God!" and it would crash. Oh my God. And he tried to get out, but he couldn't. The water pressure was too strong, so he had to wait for it to fill up. Then he would swim out and swim to the surface. Clint Eastwood would call out for Anderson. "Anderson! Anderson! You alright, buddy?" And he would see Anderson still alive coming out from the front of the plane. Both men would link up and go to the plane and pull out 2 life rafts, and each man would get inside a raft, and they would say, "What we do now?" Anderson would tell Clint Eastwood, "We can't be that far from the coast of California. It's probably like 3 miles away. Let's just pedal to the metal." But the men had actually fallen 2 miles away from Point Reyes, California, a known breeding ground for great white sharks. They were pedaling to the metal, but the water was becoming so choppy and wavy that it actually threw Clint Eastwood out the raft. Clint Eastwood would yell out to his new friend, "Anderson, help me, buddy." And Anderson actually tried to pedal to Clint Eastwood to help him, but he just couldn't. And Clint Eastwood would watch his friend Anderson fade away into the night. Clint Eastwood is shivering, freezing in the middle of the ocean in shark-infested waters, by himself with no raft, nothing. He doesn't know what to do. It's pitch black. So he starts swimming, and he's shivering. He's getting tired. He doesn't know what to do. And all of a sudden, after an hour of swimming, he looks and he would see land and some light. So he started swimming harder and harder, and he would reach the sands of Point Reyes, California. Clint Eastwood had no energy. He was just crawling his way to the light that he had seen. That light turned out to be of a building that was owned by a radio station. So he was just crawling and shivering and puking. And after a half hour, he would reach that building and knock on the door. the guy would open the door in shock and he would tell Clint Eastwood, "Hey man, what happened to you? Were you swimming in the middle of the ocean in pitch black with the great white sharks in freezing cold waters?" The man would call the Coast Guard, and the Coast Guard would come and take Clint Eastwood to their station and give him medical treatment and save his life. At their station, Clint Eastwood would find his new friend Anderson, who also survived and was getting medical treatment. Clint Eastwood would go on to serve as a lifeguard for 2 more years, and in 1953, when the Korean War ended, his mandatory service came to an end and he was discharged. Guys, never give up. Instead of dying that day, Clint Eastwood would reach the age of 93 and he's still living. God bless him. And he would go on to be one of the best actors in the world, one of the best directors in the world, and one of the best producers of the world. He won hundreds of awards, including 4 Academy Awards and 4 Golden Globe Awards. I'm Ahmed Basile. Thank you guys for watching today's video. Please comment your opinion on this story. And please like, share, and subscribe. God bless you. I'm out of this joint.